Well, I mean, there are a number of them. I can give you a laundry list. I mean, servanthood, humility, transformational capabilities, visionary, tenacious. We can go on and on. I think that ultimately it takes leadership. It takes a whole cadre of leadership skills, lots of tools in your toolbox to be successful in the jobs I've had. But I think probably the one that's most fundamental, I mean, honesty is obviously important and integrity is important and being visionary, but probably the one I think that I admire the most is people who can really successfully build teams. Because the reality is, most of the places I've had the privilege to lead, it's all about building the team. It's less about the leader particularly and more about trying to make this team really function at a high level. Well, number one, you always want to have a moral compass, right? You got to be thinking about always doing the right thing. And I think heaping praise is really helpful. I mean, it helps build a team. A note to somebody who's done a good job can mean a great deal from a person in my role. This one and all the other ones I've had the privilege to serve in. So, I mean, and it goes from the people who fixed the water fountain to, the distinguished professor in a college to the dean to the chancellor to whomever. So, I mean, I think that praise when worthy is very, very helpful at building the team. I think that can benefit a lot of leaders. I think whenever you think you're the reason the institution is sailing and moving forward, that's when you're about, in my estimation, that's when you're really going to get yourself in trouble. I often think about this place that I have the privilege of leading as, it's got 14 or 15,000 employees, right? 57,000 students. I'm another person here. I have a unique role. But the work really gets done by the students, faculty, and staff. Well, it didn't happen at this place. It happened at the last one. But I can remember this vividly because I was dean of a veterinary college at that time, and we needed a new small animal hospital. Their creditors were down our back. We'd just come out of a major campaign. And the president of that institution said to me when I went in to see them and said, hey, I've got to have a new hospital. And they said, well, times are really tough. There isn't enough money. I'm not sure we can help you. So I went away and thought about it, and there was a lot of adversity, right? Because I was expecting upper administration to really help me. So in reality, I said, well, we're going to have another campaign. It's a $55 million building. And we did a feasibility study, and the analyst said, you don't have a snowball's chance of doing this, Joe. And I said to my team, we have no choice. We're going to dig into this. The president and the president of the foundation at that place was saying, you don't have a snowball's chance, Joe. And we overcame that by just saying there's no choice. We've got to do it. And it wasn't easy, but it was probably one of the thrills of my career, to see that place and now realize that, through the approach we took and the get it done attitude, we were able to achieve that. I mean, we had, the fact of the matter, I was probably about 6 years into that job, and stayed there about 9.5, and, the team was pretty well formed. It was pretty easy to motivate them. We had some key donors that we pulled in that were helpful, and I always called them our fairy godmothers and godfathers, and they really helped us pull this thing along. See, Brad, I remember this very consciously. So, I came through a career path that's very traditional through the academy, went through all the professorial ranks at Illinois, really got into this business by default. I mean, really, I did. I mean, the dean came to me in those days, and I was on the executive committee as a full professor in the college, and we advised the dean. I happened to be chairman, and he said to me, I've got this associate dean who's leaving for a year. Joe, why don't you come try this job? You might be good at it. But do everything else you got to do as a faculty member, at Illinois. So I said, yeah, I'll do that. And the reality was, in a few years, all of a sudden, I had a deanship. And I remember when I took that job, I thought, as a veterinarian, or as a veterinary dean, I would never hire a surgeon or a microbiologist or a parasitologist or a neurologist without the right training. And I thought, I'm now leaving my old career behind as a parasitologist and clinician around horses, and I've got to get better at this stuff. And so I started reading just voraciously. I mean, my wife thought I was a real nerd. You know, I'd pull home leadership books and pour through them, dig up on the web what I could. And then probably the biggest single thing that helped me was I went and enrolled in, at the benefit of the institution I was at, as they paid for it, this executive program called the Food System Leadership Institute. And it was a 2-year-long process with several week-long sessions. And it was more, there was leadership training in it, no doubt, but it was more about assessing who you are, what your strengths and weaknesses were. And the whole goal of this program was to land people from agriculture and veterinary medicine in presidencies at major land grants. And that program sizably changed me in that 2-year period. I think it really equipped me well for the last job I had here at Tennessee and for this one too. And so I've just decided, you know, you have to now become a student of this stuff you want to do career-wise professionally. Yeah, well, you know, I think the characteristics I like to see in people that we're going to, using an analogy, that we're going to employ as leaders is those of being a dove, a dragon, and a diplomat. And if you can capture those 3 personas around an institution like this, I think those are the major qualities. In fact, often I ask that question of candidates when they come through. So tell me when you're a dove and when you're a dragon and when you're a diplomat, if they've had leadership experience before. And it's a really good measure of, you know, how they're going to perform. And then the other thing I always look for when we hire people in is goodness of fit. Because if you look at people getting in trouble at an institution early in a leadership career, typically there are 2 or 3 ways it happens. But most commonly is they never really understand the culture and they can't assimilate with the team. And so those are characteristics. I mean, generally you can look on paper and talk to them and know that they've got the right discipline training and experience on paper to do the job. But the intangibles are, when do you be a dove? When are you a dove? When are you a dragon? When are you a diplomat? Goodness of fit, and do we think they understand the culture? Well, number one, I think all of us need mentors. It's not a weakness to have a mentor, even when you're a president of a university. So I still have mentors today. And often the big thing about a mentor is they need the right experience to be of most benefit to you. And one of the most comforting things about the mentors I have today is generally when I talk to them about the issues we're facing, they've either been through them or going through them at the same time. So it's comforting to know that it isn't a new thing, you know. And I think, you know, universities ought to be mentorships from the first day undergraduate to the presidency, is my estimation. I've benefited from tremendous mentoring over my career. And so I think the key is I do that. I still try to get out and do some leadership training. Still read lots of books. Often when we get into a situation where we're thinking about an issue and how to address it, I'll pull out a book like Leading Change and figure out, you know, you need to reread this thing, Joe, and does it have application to what you're facing right now?